Hello and welcome to the Yogscast. Today we are looking at the Mesmer class, and I'm gonna go through some of the skills. I'm gonna show off some of the abilities and the different sort of things you can do. I'm actually up leveled to 80 here from level 2, so I'm in the world zone.
V world.
If you go in there, you basically get automatically up leveled.
So it's a big thing with this game in that if you go into lower level areas, your level is reduced effectively to that same level. But if you go into this PvP area, you're boosted up to max level.
So this here is a little area of the world where you can actually recruit NPCs to help you, and if you sort of complete quest objectives by killing mobs and doing things around here, it actually...
A cave with harpies in? Really?
Yeah.
Really?
A harpy cave.
Wow.
So I've got my staff here, I'm attacking some harpies. As you can see, I've got a couple of different types of illusion. One's a clone, one's an actual phantasm. I've switched to sword and pistol now. I summoned an illusionary duelist there with a pistol. I've also got this leap forwards with the sword. Sword's a really good, a good one actually. It's got two abilities that summon clones of you, and one is when you leap forwards, and one leaps forwards on its own. So you can actually sort of throw it off. I showed it in the in our playthrough video at the start, so you can have a look at that in that. Here we've got the underwater abilities, which I'm not actually going to look at because I mean they're fairly standard. They all summon illusions and they're basically the same as the above ground abilities, but you only have a choice between two. Most classes only have a choice between two underwater weapons. Some actually only seem to have one underwater weapon, which is quite interesting. But obviously it doesn't give you the versatility underwater that you have above ground. So that's something to think about. You can actually use a sword in your offhand as well, and it really is the only Mesmer spec that is very melee based. And the two abilities actually, one of them's defensive and creates an illusion, and the other one creates a phantasm which attacks for quite a bit of damage. So yeah, this is the stuff that I'm looking at. Chaos Strike is the first ability, which is an odd one. It does do damage, but it also applies a random condition. And then there's the duplicate, which is the clone skill. Now the clone is different from the illusion, and the clones are things that appear to other players to be you. So they'll attack you instead of they'll attack the illusion instead of you. Phantasms, like the illusionary warlock there, are labelled as such, so that would be called illusionary warlock, and people wouldn't... they do more damage, the illusionaries, the phantasms. They have a little bit more life as well, but they aren't like mirror images of you, so players won't be so tempted to attack them instead of you. I've also got this chaos field here, which is a combo field. So if people shoot an arrow through that field, it will apply a random condition to the mob. A bit like having a poison field. If you shoot arrows...
Much like with the engineer.
Yeah. Or a fire field, or any other kind of combo field. So I've got what I'm using here is actually staff, and I'm switching to sword and pistol offhand. So as you saw there, one of my illusions had a sword, that guy has a staff, so the illusions do use the weapon that you're using. And I'm just debuffing this guy and doing a bit of damage. As you can see, the auto attack going off there. It's got no chain on it, it's just the same attack over and over again. I'm now getting myself in a bit of trouble here. The third ability actually bounces between people, so it's kind of a bit like a chain lightning. And I've also got this here, which is my elite skill, which changes them into a mower, so it's like a chicken. So I chickened him.
It's one pissed off chicken.
They do a lot less damage, and it's actually a very cool ability, quite popular as well, because it's kind of useful in PvP and PvE. And obviously everything explodes. And I just used that there, that's my mind rack. And what that does is that detonates all of your current illusions and does damage around them. The other sort of F skills, the alternative F skills, will do different things. Will still blow up your illusions, but they'll do different things. So one of them will stun, one of them will cripple, one of them will sort of daze. So they're not hugely different, those skills, and actually the icons are temporary. And I think since this is the newest class, Mesmer, those F skills are still one thing that's going to probably be changed and worked on in future patches. So here's the sword and the pistol that I'm using as an offhand. See, I summon an illusionary duelist with the pistol offhand, which is very cool. Because in fact the duelist can actually chain with your staff chaos field. So if you put down a chaos field and you changed your pistol, you summon a duelist and he shoots through the chaos field. Those bullets will function as projectiles and be like...
He was a bit slow, wasn't he? I was waiting for him to finish off that mob.
Yeah.
But the mob was already dead by the time it got round to it.
They're a little bit on the funny side. This is a sort of trick shot. It bounces to 3 foes. One gets blinded, one gets dazed, and one gets stunned. And
it continues the sort of chaos and debuffing theme of the class.
there's a lot of randomness, but there's so much randomness that you end up applying these debuffs anyway. So blinded is a good sort of condition. It basically makes their next attack miss. So it's quite a nice one to have. There's also things... So the opposite of conditions is boons. And boons on yourself are basically self-buffs. And the Mesmer has several things that actually apply random buffs to you as well. I've got some other cool skills which I'll show you in a little bit. So this is the portal entry. So I can put down a portal entry and a portal exit. And this is quite a common sort of skill that's used for sort of moving around in PvP, apparently. So, for example, because Mesmers can stealth, okay? So, for example, if a keep's under attack, okay, and you need to go there and defend it, you can drop a portal entry around the side of the keep where all of your allies are like hiding, and you can stealth, run into the keep, past the front door where all the baddies are banging on the keep, and then you can put a portal exit in and get all of your team into the keep like quite safely. So there's really useful, cool abilities that Mesmers are unique to Mesmers.
So everyone can use that portal?
Yep.
Whoa.
And that's actually very cool. When I was talking to the devs, they were sort of saying that there's very cunning ways that if your keep is being captured and it falls, you can like hide somewhere in the keep and then put like a portal entrance and exit down, so you can like stealthily get all of your allies into the keep if you're cunning. So when someone takes a keep off you of your world, they have to ensure that they've cleared everyone out of it. So I've changed over to Greatsword now, by the way, which you might have noticed, which is absolutely
cool.
Freaking cool. You kind of hold the Greatsword out and you do like ranged attacks with it, and the further you are away, the more damage it does. But also there's these another couple of abilities. Leap backwards, which summons a illusion when you leap backwards, so it's kind of defensive. There's also an illusionary berserker who does a lot of damage. It's a phantasm, but it does good damage. And I'm just going to turn this guy into a chicken. And there's a couple of other sort of abilities. There's this knockback, sweeping knockback, and there's also this thing where you dig your sword into the ground. And I think that applies a vulnerability. So it basically means they regen endurance more slowly, so they can't dodge as much. That's what that is. Mine's step actually, it's actually a daze. I thought it might be a vulnerability.
Greatsword. See, I mean, this seems to be the way forwards for playing a Mesmer, for me anyway.
Greatsword is definitely one of the PvP specs that people seem to choose. Because it's got the defensive abilities, the jumping and the knockback and everything. This is a speed curtain, so if you run through it you get a speed buff. But if they run through it they get slowed instead. This is the Scepter Focus, I think I'm using here. Is it Focus? It's like a little stick with a sort of bell on the end of it. The attack isn't so good. I mean, the Greatsword actually seems to have slightly longer range than Scepter does. Scepter seems to be fairly medium range, but it's quite PvP oriented as well, which is why I've chosen these two together. Because you get the duplicate again. Duplicates are really so good for survivability, but the staff doesn't offer quite as much in PvP as the Scepter does. Especially since you can kind of mix up your offhand when you've got the Scepter according to what you're doing, whether you're doing World v World or whether you're doing arena stuff or what you're doing. So having a curtain where you can run a whole bunch of people through it and speed them all up is extremely good for World v World to get this group of people moving. And it works similarly to something like a Warhorn with a Warrior, where they can buff the speed as well. So if you're running in a big group of people to take a keep, you can throw down the curtain or use a wall to buff you. And here, like I was suggesting as well, was the stealth ability, which vanishes you, and then when you reappear, you set fire. So having vanishes is just a lifesaver. I just threw down a portal entry there for no reason. And I've aggroed all these mobs because I'm an idiot. I'm just healing myself. I'm switching to greatsword, knocking them back. There you go. And then jumping back and summoning an illusion. So I knock back and then jump back, which takes me miles away. And then I'm at the sort of the cap of the greatsword attack range, so the greatsword does extra damage.
And you also have your melee tanky illusion down there.
Illusionary Berserker, yeah, from the Scepter focus, so yeah, or whatever. Oh no, I think he's number... I can't remember where the Berserker comes from now. God, I'm terrible at remembering this. There's so many abilities.
It's a bit confusing, especially when you can switch 2 weapon sets on the fly. It's a little bit like this. It's a little bit confusing.
So I've got Illusionary Berserker, Illusionary Mage, still like tanking this one for me, plus mirror images. The thing to remember though is that as soon as your target has died, all of your stuff disappears. Which is actually really good for PvP, but not so good in PvE, because stuff dies so much in PvE that you're continually, resummoning.
Yeah, but you've got really short... Everything's on short cooldown, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So anyway, I think that's... I mean, I've tried to cover most stuff here, but I'm not sure whether I've covered it all. There's so much to go through. So what I thought I'd show you is here a little bit of the main sort of keep here. This is the central zone I'm in. So in World v World...
This is the very middle of the World v World area. The huge keep. Wow.
You'll have to look at our World v World video for a proper explanation, and that should be coming out in future. But basically there's 3 different servers attacking each other, working together as servers. So there's no factions, there's no alliance and horde. There's no different sides on each server. The servers work together to defend their own area. And this one here is actually a contested area with a big keep in the middle of it. So this is the big keep. And look how huge it is. It actually has multiple sets of doors in it. And each door is a hard work to get down. I mean, you're back, even if with siege weapons like trebuchets and siege golems and stuff, you're banging on these doors for a long time.
Oh my god.
So you can see by the size of it how easy it would be to like hide a portal in here and, conceivably get all of your allies into it. I'm not sure I was doing this right, but this is what the devs told me, that this kind of thing would be useful to create these entry and exit portals. They say they last for 60 seconds, but I wasn't seeing that when I was using them. They were lasting a lot shorter than that. And also, see, there you go, it's faded already. So I think this is something which is in development, and from talking to the developers, they said that they wanted Mesmers to have this kind of ability to be stealthy and to have this kind of role in keep combat. There isn't, I mean, in keep combat it's quite interesting, there isn't really any current way to get into a keep. So even though thieves have things like Shadow Step, where you can jump up to defending archers or something, it doesn't actually work, and it kind of works like a warrior's charge, where you have to have a visible route to run in order to Shadow Step. So in fact there are no classes that can jump up on walls and kill defenders. There's no classes that can infiltrate into keeps to bypass the doors. There's no classes that can glitch through or teleport.
Well, if there was one class that could do that, everyone would just roll it for PvP.
Well, it depends. You'd have to have a big group of people, and in these big castles, you can't kill the keep lord without, a good group of maybe 20 people. So, maybe with 20 thieves or something, that would be fine. But you'd be at a huge disadvantage if your raid consisted only of 20 thieves. So I can see what you're saying, though. Then again, World v World is a funny old thing. There's some other ability like this mass invisibility. That's the sort of elite skill. And there's all sorts of other traits and slot skills that you can put in that give you different types of illusion and other types of thing. Mass invisibility would be a good one for running your whole group into a keep, if you were defending it or something, or playing in PvP to get out, to run away, especially if we're playing like a team game. There you go, there's mirror images. I mean, this is a good one. Another very, very popular one in PvP. Summoning clones because whenever you summon a clone, you kind of shimmer, and you either move to the left or right depending on which one you're doing. And these are the traits. I mean, we're not going to look a huge amount at these because these are changing so much, but basically you can choose to increase one of your 5 main stats. These can be respec'd very easily, a trainer, so you can do that kind of at any time. But obviously you can spec between whether you want to do more damage or whether you want to be a bit more survivable, and choose abilities and traits that kind of complement your playstyle. So plus 50 toughness while wielding a staff. These are something which is constantly in flux, really, and will be in flux once the game is released, because these are the easiest place to balance abilities and specs with regard to PvP. So yeah, Mesmer. It's very detailed, very complicated, but probably the coolest class there is. Very PvP oriented, but it's got its roles in PvE as well. So there you go, man. What do you think?
It's pretty cool. It's a unique class in games. Summoning illusions and using chaos, and damn, that broadsword, just, that was good.
The greatsword is I think the coolest weapon by far. Just the fact that you don't hold it, you kind of suspend it between your hands and a laser comes out of it.
Yeah.